Three, two, one. What's going on, everyone? You're watching Ash on Comics, and today is Wednesday, October 23rd. You know what that means? That's right. It's time for Ash Wednesdays. Joining me every Wednesday is my venerable co-host, Stan the Man. So good to have you, Stan. You are a pillar of the community, as they would say. His trusty assistant, channel mascot, all-around good guy. And there's the dogs. Oh, whip. Now, I'm sitting backwards facing the doggy door. That's Luke. He had surgery. That's Luna. Yep. Zach's not the only one with a Luna. Actually, Zach's not the only one with a friend who has a Luna. That's not my dog. That's my friend's dog. And always got to get on camera. Look at the poor guy. Look at surgery. But he's doing good, nice and healthy. And so people like to see the dogs. I wish they were my dogs, but I have my own dog and I love her. I just don't film these typically at home. Actually, Wednesdays I never film at home because I'm at home on Wednesday. So anyways, let's get on with the show. I cut a video earlier and put it on. It's my commentary for Star Wars. I normally don't talk about Star Wars, which I explained in the video. It might be a boring video for some. It's not something I normally do. So word of warning, I try to focus on the comic books, but Star Wars is a big geek culture thing, which is related to comics. And it was very off the cuff. I didn't really plan on what I was going to say. So any feedback you have on that, that's positive or negative, unless you're just going to call me a tool or something. I guess I don't care about that. But let me know. And let's get on with the show. First thing that we always do every Wednesday is eat lunch. So here's my lunchtime. I unbox a burger, and you're like, what the heck? Why do we care about see a burger? If this is the first time you're watching it, I explain most every episode. But it's sort of a tradition now. I tried to stop, and people wouldn't let me. So In-N-Out is my favorite burger place. I missed it for 17 years when I was out of California, and I came back, and I can't get enough of it. And I just figured, Wednesdays where I get my comics, why not get my favorite lunch? So I treat myself every Wednesday to an In-N-Out burger. And here's the thing, man. I unbox it just to see what it's like. I usually get the same thing every time. And remember, kids, always show your receipts. Here's my receipt. Looks like Jacob was my cashier and order taker today. Or actually, the cashier was order taker number 1. Anyways, here's what I get. If you ever want to try your own Ash-style In-N-Out Double-Double. Notice it's the same price as a comic book. So this is kind of how I think about comic books these days. If it's not as good as a Double-Double, then why am I buying that comic, right? And most comics aren't as good as a Double-Double. And so there it is. Look at that beauty. Look at how many burgers do you get from places that look as good as the picture? Almost none. And are those burgers under $5? Because these are $4. Even a Big Mac is like $5.99 these days. It's crazy. So I'm going to eat this, and then we're going to talk about comics. And now it's time for a segment I like to call Marvel versus DC. We start off with the top 10 digital sales from last week. The reason I do the top 10 digital sales over other things is a couple reasons. Number one, there's some other channels that do sales better than me, put more work, more research in. One channel, an example, is Englentine. He's I Love Comics. Also his other channel, Old Man Comics. He does a really cool sales to actual comic book shops rundown he does every week, and it's great, and I love it. I just like to talk about the digital sales because it's easy for me to A, get the information, Comixology releases it, and B, it's an interesting thing to talk about because with digital sales, there's no physical comic. That means there's no inflation of the numbers due to things like overshipping, due to speculation, due to, people buying multiple issues because of variant covers, anything like that. These are purchases simply for people to read. They have no inherent other value. And I think that's pretty telling. Now, I do have to recognize that digital sales, I believe, are around approximately 6% of the overall market. So they're only a small slice of the pie. And obviously people who just read digital comics only don't really reflect the same views and perceptions of your actual comic book nerds, people like myself who go to the actual shop every Wednesday, but it's still an interesting thing to pay attention to. Starting off at number 10 is Captain America number 15. Holy smokes. The only thing I can factor in, well, I guess if this was a comic book shop, I'd factor in, these great Alex Ross covers. But again, it's not a comic book shop. This is digital. I did a review on Captain America number 14, and oh my goodness, is it terrible. But apparently there's a lot of people out there that like Captain Antifa and like to see him beaten up on the, the racist white men, because, white men are all racist, apparently, except for Steve, who's the White Knight. Maybe he could change his identity. Maybe he could become White Knight. I don't know. There's already a book for that. DC would sue. Number 9, Guardians of the Galaxy, number 10. This is a bitter pill to swallow, not because of the book. I haven't read this issue yet, but it's ending, I believe, at issue 12. Now, the silver lining is that Donny Cates is going on to write Thor, but in true Marvel fashion, they have to cancel. So Thor's getting canceled, Guardians of the Galaxy is getting canceled. Why would they do this? Well, you guessed it, because Marvel's going to reboot for new number ones. Well, I'm tired of buying miniseries. I'm tired of, reboots constantly. And sometimes I'll tolerate it when it's really good. I'm going to buy Thor because Jason Aaron ruined Thor, in my opinion. Donny Cates is one of the biggest talents at Marvel, and Thor is one of my favorite characters. He's doing a bang-up job on Silver Surfer, so I'm looking forward to see what he does with Thor. I think he's a fantastic cosmic writer. I want him to stay in that cosmic area. I'm looking forward to it. But Al Ewing is getting a reboot of Guardians of the Galaxy, and if Al Ewing had continued on with, number 13, I might have given him a chance. I might have been like, okay, I'm already collecting Guardians. Let's see if Al Ewing can keep me interested. But I don't have an interest in Al Ewing, and I'm not going to start over with him on number 1. So congratulations, Marvel. Your reboots, you think it's a jumping on point, but it's really a jumping off point. Spider-Man number 2 fills in our number 8 spot. And I did a video on the first issue of this, and it was surprisingly good, in my opinion. I believe this is one of those books that's getting a lot of flack simply because people went into it wanting to hate it. I believe a lot of people made up their mind that there's no possible way this book could be good, and so they were determined to find anything and everything bad about the book. Now, I haven't read issue 2. Maybe it falls apart. Maybe it's terrible. But issue number 1 was really well done. I was really impressed. I might be picking up the trade for this. And let's move on to number 7. Flash Forward number 2. This is another one I did a video. Number 1, it was okay. Scott Lobdell is your standard comic book writer. He's not terrific. He just churns in decent quality books month in and month out. Something that we need in comic books. Not everyone can be, an Alan Moore or anything like that. We just need those staple writers that can just churn out decent quality books. They don't need to be profound every issue, but they need to not be dumpster fires either. And Scott Lobdell definitely can do that. This Flash Forward book is a book that shouldn't exist. Tom King should have never been allowed to destroy Wally West. And it doesn't make sense, if DC was intent on destroying Wally West, why they would create this half-cocked, cockamamie BS story to try to fix Wally West. Why? This was an okay story. I'm curious to where it goes because maybe they'll turn Wally West into something not the Flash, kind of like Kyle Rayner. Maybe we'll see. Maybe he'll transcend the Flash, and it can turn out interesting. I don't know. Let's hope. And then moving on to number 6, Superman Year One. I am an unabashed Frank Miller fanboy. I have not read actually the 3rd issue yet. I'm looking forward to reading it. I've just been stuck on video games, plus doing videos and being backlogged on comics. I just don't get the things as fast as I do. But I've been enjoying, for the most part, the first 2 issues. Now, is this, canon Superman? Of course not. You got to read this book as like a completely alternate take of it. You just got to go in like total Elseworlds. What is in Frank's mind? Is this the Superman that I want to see? It's not. But do I enjoy reading it? Yes. Frank Miller is an artist in the truest sense. Whether it comes in pictures, when it comes in visual storytelling, and when it comes in words. I love how he puts words together, and it's just beautiful to read, and I really enjoy it. He's not the man he once was. I totally recognize that. I'm enjoying it, and I'm glad to see other people are as well. This is number 6. Number 5, Batman Nightfall. Now, I could see why this made the list because Nightfall was a popular time, right? This is a compelling concept. Let's go back to Nightfall in the dark multiverse. What happened in that multiverse version of it? Well, in this one, Azrael never relinquished the bat, and he became Saint Batman. Now, I haven't read this book. I was not going to pay $5.99 for this one shot. It seemed like a cash grab gimmick book to me, even though I like Scott Snyder. It does seem to me that Kyle Higgins probably did the most of the work, and Scott was there to just sort of put his name on things. I wish this was good, but my fears were confirmed by all the reviews I'm seeing. It doesn't sound like this is that good at all. So yeah, $5.99 books. Sorry, DC, I'm not in there for your gimmicks. Don't pull Marvel, number ones out there to cash grab. I'm not interested. I want quality books. Number 4, speaking of quality, this might be the best quality book on the list. It's good to see people are buying it, not just because it's a big event book, or people think it's going to be worth money, but, people want to read it, and it is worth reading. I haven't read issue number 4 yet. I have read the first 3 issues, and they're great. This is what comics are about for the most part. Really fun storytelling. When you look at this cover, probably looks pretty gross. I think it's meant to be. It might turn off some people, but Donny Cates just knows how to spin a yarn. He's not the most profound, deep intellectual writer, but he's comic writer. He's got that sense of the fantastic and the spectacular, and as well as taking characters in interesting places, as well as making you care about the character. I never cared about Eddie Brock. He was a terrible character until Donny Cates got a hold of him. Ryan Stegman might be one of the most visually stunning, appealing artists at Marvel. This is a book you should not miss. The core issues. You could skip all the side spin-off stuff. The core issues are a blast. Number 4, good to see it there. Number 3, another book that I'm really happy to see on the list, Justice League. Scott Snyder is just quietly out there doing some of the best ongoing comic books. This is 34 issues into the run. People are still loving it. It's number 3 on the list. Now, if I was about to use this list as some sort of justification to be like, see, I keep telling you, this proves that Snyder's good. Well, this would prove me wrong and just invalidate the list because Tom King's Batman is number 2. Now, I don't know if it's just because John Romita Jr. is art. He's a fan favorite for Batman fans. He's getting a little long in the tooth as well. He's not nearly the artist he used to be, but I still like him, and a lot of people do. Also, The City of Bane, this is wrapping up Tom King's run. And maybe all of this is about people wanting to see how it all turns out. People have invested, they don't want to miss the end. It's 80-something issues. You got this far, right? Let's keep it going, figure out what happens. Plus, Bane is a fan favorite Batman villain. So we'll see. 4 more issues, and then we get Tynan. I cannot wait. Batman 81 is number 2. Number 1 should become to no surprise to anyone. For the 3rd time in 2 years, X-Men has a number 1 issue. Actually, more than 3rd time, because if you count red, blue, yellow, and black, that was 4 number 1s. Uncanny. This is the 6th number 1 in 2 years for X-Men. Oh, man. But here we go. Jonathan Hickman was knocking it out of the park with House of X and Powers of X. He converted me. I'm an old school X-Men fan, diehard Chris Claremont purist. I don't consider anything in the past 20 years to be really worth a damn. And I just don't read X-Men because I'm an elitist snob when it comes to X-Men. And I was convinced that this new thing was going to just be more crap from Marvel based on what they did. But Jonathan Hickman's, that House of X, Powers of X, is probably, it's up there with one of the greatest X-Men stories I have ever read. It's phenomenally well written. I have my own caveats about it. You can watch my videos that I've done expressing myself. But he earned me jumping on this book as well. So for the first time, I got X-Men number 1. Wasn't as happy with this particular book as I should be. Particularly the art really did not help sell it. I do not like Leinil Francis Yu's art at all. But a lot of people are really enjoying it, and I'm investing at least 6 issues to see where X-Men goes, and I hope that it's every bit, if it's even 80% as good as House of X and Powers of X, we're going to be on for a great ride. And that was the number 1 issue. Here is the list as a recap. Captain America number 10, Guardians of the Galaxy number 9, Spider-Man number 8, Flash Forward is number 7, Superman Year 1 is number 6, Tales from the Dark Multiverse makes it into the top 5, Absolute Carnage just misses being in the top 3 at number 4, and the top 3 are Justice League, then Batman, then X-Men. Yeah. So, the final tally, Marvel versus DC. Marvel's got 5. DC Comics has got 5. So it's a tie. But I'm going to give the tiebreaker to Marvel because 3... Well, no, that's not true. That's backwards. They got 1. They got the number 1. But then number 2 and 3 are DC. I got to give it a tie. It's pretty competitive. But considering that Marvel does at almost double as amount of books as DC, that's pretty impressive for DC to still be there. Now, moving on to new number 1s. This is the thing I've been doing for a while. I really enjoy this. It used to just be Marvel number 1s, but DC said, throw our hats in the ring. We're going to take on the champ. So let's see. DC's won the last 2 weeks. What's going to be this week? So starting off with Marvel. Marvel has Marauders number 1. You can get this book for $5, cheap. This is the second one of the X books to be launched out of 6 in Phase 1. Presumably, there's going to be 10 by Phase 2, and then there's a rumor Phase 3 will add 2 more. So that'll be 12 X books that Marvel will be bending you over and forcibly taking the money from you. And you will cry. Oh, by the way, did I mention these are bi-weekly? So 24 X books when all is said and done. Man, how could this not be a success? How can 24 number 1s for you to just lock away? Did I get this on my pull list this week? You'll find out. Then we also have Mary Jane, the amazing Mary Jane, because, we have to sell Mary Jane having her own comic. This is the dumbest thing. Um, but it's a number one, right? It's a Mary Jane number one. And you know, all those times before, those past Mary Jane books, they're all worth a fortune. And you missed out, but don't miss out on this one. Leah Williams, she's one of the hottest writers in the business. Everything Leah writes is gold. No, not really. Take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. None of this is meant for real advice. This is pure mockery. Continuing on with Marvel, we have another Spider-Man book. This is Amazing Spider-Man Full Circle. And look at the names at the top there. Jonathan Hickman, of course, getting top billing because of his House of X, Powers of X. Seems kind of smart. This is $10. But look at all those names. This book, of course, is going to make you rich. You just got to make sure you bag it away, keep it sealed, protected for about 20, 30 years. And, by, let's say, 2040, if we're still around, 2050 maybe, you can give this to your grandkids, and it might buy them a Happy Meal at McDonald's. Because, Happy Meals with minimum wage will probably be like $25, and that's what Happy Meal will cost. Next, we got wait a second. Luna Snow. I got out of order. Man, screwed up. Now I feel all embarrassed, right? Because I never screw up. My channel's the epitome of professional and quality. It's so stupid. Luna Snow by Alyssa Wong. The one that called C.B. Cebulski a racist and then got a job because you only get hired by merit at Marvel, right? So she is so good. All of her comics, she's never written a comic book before. That's okay. Give her 3 of her own books because, she said she wanted to undo Stan Lee's legacy. Allegedly said that, right? She, of course, denied that this happened after she deleted thousands of her tweets, Hillary Clinton style, and proclaimed that no, she actually is a big fan of Stan Lee and admires him and would never say such a thing. But of course, if you search all of her tweets for any mention of Stan Lee, the only time she's ever mentioned anything with Stan Lee was in one tweet where she denied saying anything. And of course, those thousands of tweets were nothing bad. There's nothing incriminating. She just, yeah. So, going on to DC, we start with Black Adam. Sorry if this is a fuzzy picture. They didn't have a good picture of this for some reason. You're the Villain keeps on going. This has been kind of an exploitative event, which seems kind of redundant to say because that's all they've been for the past 20 years. I was really hoping that DC was going to be a little bit more integrity. I've been trying to sell this to people. You're the Villain still has some really good points about it. You're not having to buy billions of different spin-off books, but they are doing these number one-shots with the various evil characters, and they're just not really, other than Joker, which had John Carpenter, and then I think the Lex Luthor one might have had Scott Snyder, but they've all had this middling talent. They just seemed half-cocked. I haven't bought them. I just buy my books, and they have the Year of the Villain stuff on it, and I follow what they're doing, which is what I recommended other people do. But I just haven't really shown much interest in this. This is going on way too long. I think this is a big failure. Meanwhile, Marvel is doing some good things. Next on DC's list, we've got Swamp Thing Giant. 100 pages, only $5. By the way, Black Adam will set you back $5. I keep forgetting to mention the prices. Those are really important because you need to know how much your initial investment's going to be, so that 20 years down the road when you sell it, hopefully it's worth more than what it would be with inflation. But these giant books, I'm actually pretty impressed with. I think it's a bummer that they're not doing the Walmart thing anymore. I think that was a good idea. I know people mocked them for it, but it's important to try to get into other markets, to branch out. If comics are to succeed, they need to reach normies, not just be in comic book stores. So, Swamp Thing, I thought about picking this up I've never known Swamp Thing. He's never appealed to me, but people love Swamp Thing. And that's it. DC's only had 2. So the tail of the tape today, DC had 2 number ones. Marvel had 4. Same as last week for Marvel, but yet their price went up. It's going to cost you $24 to pick up those 4 number ones. DC is going to charge you $10 for their 2. So $34 total to add all those number ones to your pull list. And then probably 20, 30 years from now, they'll be worth, like $50, probably, maybe. I don't know. You make a lot of money. You got to get them. New comics in total, Marvel had 23 new comics hit the shelves. 20. These are unique comics. 23 to DC's 17. DC used to make about half as many comics as Marvel, but they've really been amping out the books in these past couple months. Right after they said they were cutting down their books, they immediately stepped on the gas and did the opposite. I've never seen such a blatant turnaround on what you say versus what you do since Obama. Sorry, did I say that? But when you get down to the variants and reprints, Marvel skyrockets to 119 total books. If you want every variant cover, if you want to get the reprints of the books, which this week, admittedly, there was probably half a dozen to a dozen reprints for the X books. Those House of X, Powers of X books are still in reprinting. Take about a dozen off that number for actual reprints versus variants. But that's a lot of variants. Why? Well, you've got books like all those number ones. When you have 20 variant copies for each number one, you get numbers like that. DC, on the other hand, has been a modest only 29. They only added 12 extra books when you factor that in. So hats off to Marvel. It's helping you more by giving you more number ones every week. They win. So that's the end of this segment. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one. I want to do another segment on this called, I don't know, fan mail or just mail. I hate saying fans. Like I have fans. I have viewers. Viewer mail, maybe, I guess we'll call it. There's many times I'll go through and I'll read comments on my channel, and I don't want to type out a big long response. And sometimes I just want to talk about it, and then sometimes weeks go by, and then it's So basically, I just want to announce this now to anyone who's watching. If you have any questions or feedback or whatever that you consider, consider that I might be addressing it on the show. If you say anything personal, well, first of all, if it's in my comments section, I'm not going to consider that personal as public. But if you send anything to me via email or Twitter or through Discord or any other means, and it comes across as private information, like you tell a personal story about yourself, I won't really probably read that on air unless you tell me in that it's okay. But if it doesn't seem personal, I may read it on air unless you tell me you don't want it read on air. Not that this is all pre-recorded. But anyways, I'm throwing that out there in case you want to ask questions that might be suitable to talk about on the show, like show topics, things like that. Most people don't actually ask me questions in the comments. They just post comments about the actual video, and that's fine. But sometimes, having good questions inspires good content, hopefully. Plus, I just want to be able to give better responses than a quick, a quick little blab, type away of something on a YouTube. Or Twitter or something. It just doesn't give it the attention it deserves. And to start off for this week, I just posted my Rise of Skywalker commentary, and this one by Matt Baskowski. He's written comments before. He writes, "I completely agree that the Disney films aren't as bad as people make them seem. I'm a lifelong Star Wars fan as well, and I will always find the best in each film. Not as easy to do with books and comics, but I still try." Wow, this is shocking. I met someone online who doesn't hate the Star Wars films. Oh man, it's like finding a unicorn. One thing in regard to Han's death, they did acknowledge his funeral in the novelization for The Last Jedi, so he wasn't completely forgotten about, but I see your point. Sorry, Matt, doesn't count. Needs to be in the movie. It needs to be in the movie. You can't cut it out of the film. If it's cut out of the film, it doesn't count. But I agree, it was nice having the novelization and having some extra bits. As far as Darth Plagueis is concerned, I don't think it would have been smart for the reveal to be that he survived and is now Snoke. I think that's fan service for the sake of fan service. The reveal would be awesome for those of us that really love Star Wars, but first, the casual fans don't know a damn thing about Plagueis. The scene from Revenge of the Sith probably means nothing, let alone the novel to them. Well, I got to call shenanigans on this point, Matt. I'm sorry. All this Lucas Star Wars films, Lucas didn't give a damn about trying to appeal to normies. He wanted to tell a good story. And there is so much depth and layers to his film that most normies don't ever get. For example, most normies don't get that Luke Skywalker is going down the path of the dark side in Return of the Jedi. It's very subtle. But if you watch Empire and Jedi together over and over, you can see that Luke is following in the footsteps of his father, and he's wearing black because Lucas is very big on visual symbolism. He goes back to the old school westerns where the good cowboy wear a white hat and the bad cowboy wears a black hat, that sort of thing. He's very big on that. And his type of storytelling, you can see Luke is doing force chokes just like Vader does. These are sorts of things that I talk to even a lot of so-called Star Wars fans, and they're just like, what? They don't agree with that take. But Lucas cared about good storytelling. And say what you will about the prequels. The prequels, I believe, were a problem with him just being overindulged and no one saying, no, George, no. When you have no one who can tell you no and you can just do whatever you want, that's a problem. But anyways, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. The deal is, it's not fan service. And my argument in that video was that it makes the most sense. It's not, I don't want it just to make nostalgia and be like, hey, look, see? No, from a narrative standpoint, it connects the stories. It makes sense. Because if Snoke is not Plagueis, then who is he? And if he is not addressed in the third film at all, which it seems likely that's a possibility, then he's just a chump. He's a waste of a character. Making him Darth Plagueis, and by the way, this is all caveat on not bringing Palpatine back either. Making him Darth Plagueis makes him a powerful character, not just in the fact that he's a strong conflict in the narrative. It's a powerful character from a story sense. We care about him. And yes, normies might watch this and be like, I don't know who Darth Plagueis is, but they don't need to because they already don't know who Snoke is. Nothing's going to matter. It's not like they're going to be like, wait a second, I just thought he was Snoke. You could easily address this in the writing where the characters interact and it's like Darth Plagueis, just, how do I say this? If you go back and watch the prequels and remember Emperor Palpatine is calling himself Darth Sidious, that's confusing. It's to your point that it's confusing to the narrative, right? Wait a second, I thought that was Emperor Palpatine. That's Sidious? What? Well, when you watch the movies, you can put it together. Oh, Darth Sidious is his Sith name. His actual real name was Palpatine, just like Vader's real name was Skywalker. But they each have their Sith name, Darth Vader, Darth Sidious. Snoke could be his real name, Darth Plagueis, his Sith name. It all makes sense. You can easily explain it in the story. It would take maybe a couple of minutes of a little bit of dialogue, some boom, boom, boom. And all you got to do is connect it to what Lucas already told, Lucas did the legwork. That's all you just need to, you don't need to go a half an hour of story. All you need to do is be like, this guy is Darth Plagueis. And he's been able to survive all these years, and he was once Palpatine's master. The end. Normies just go, oh, this is the guy that the Emperor studied under? Holy shit, he must be a real badass. The hardcore fans go, yeah, and remember, he was mentioned back in the second film. Oh, there's, I believe absolutely that this is the way it needs. I don't think there's a better scenario that Snoke can be revealed to be. I challenge Hollywood and Disney to prove me wrong, to make Snoke better than what I just described. He goes on. Also, the Plagueis reveal would mean nothing to most of the characters except maybe Ben. It doesn't have to. This is for the audience's sake. As I'm sure the lore of Plagueis died in the galaxy over the generations since his death. That's fine. Again, it's all for the audience, so you can walk away and go, why is there this character Snoke, and what's his importance to the story? The characters, Luke didn't know who Vader was in the beginning. He's just like, oh, he's just some badass who killed my dad. That's all he knew. But the audience, once the audience knows it's his father, it makes a difference. I know I'm really excited for this movie, though. The only gripe I have with them is that they aren't the new Jedi Order books. I grew attached to those when I was a teenager, but I understand completely why they had to be scrapped. Yes, I can kind of agree with you. I didn't like the new Jedi Order stuff. I thought it was dumb. I don't like the character of Mara Jade. I especially don't like the character of Mara Jade hooking up with Luke Skywalker. I think that direction was completely antithetical to what Lucas was doing, but whatever, I can understand if you grew up that way and that was your Star Wars, you come in and go, wait, this is all different. Totally understand. And that's the thing about subjectivity. We each have our own life experiences and the way we see things. And I've come to understand through talking to some of my close friends who are around my age and think about Star Wars on the level that I do, that my views are really contingent on the fact that I grew up. Luke Skywalker, I had the Luke Skywalker action figures. I was a kid as Star Wars movies were still coming out, having to beg my mom to take me to see Return of the Jedi, please, and I have to wait 2 weeks because she didn't want to stand in the lines. And I'm like, please, this is all I want to do is, my friends get to see Return of the Jedi. Do I get to see it? No. But, going to my grandparents' house over the summer, and they were rich, so they had HBO. HBO was something that you didn't get. I grew up kind of poor, but my grandparents had HBO, and man, when Star Wars came on HBO, I could just sit on the summer and just watch it over and over. And people that don't understand it today, that you can just consume media so easily, don't understand. Anyways, going down a rabbit hole. Matt, thank you so much for that great comment. I'm going to leave this here. This episode, this Ash Wednesday show already runs so long. But I invite you other guys, everyone else, and Matt, please continue giving comments and ask questions. Give me ideas for topics, things you'd like to hear me talk about, and I might address it on the show. Thanks. So I'm recording this video the day after New Comic Book Day, which was on 10/16. I got this in the mail. I didn't get it in time to do for that video, so I'm going to do it on the next Comic Book Day video, which should be, if everything goes right, episode 13 of Ash Wednesdays. So, what do I got? Let's do an unboxing. It's a comic. Spoiler alert. Got Stan and Forky joining me. Always make sure to redact the stuff on the cover, so you don't. I've done that before, so you don't dox yourself. Let's see what we got. So it's in a stiff envelope. It's a media mail. Interesting. I'll pull this out. It's got nice sandwiched between some boards. Not in a poly bag, however. Kind of shocked. So this is from Doug Garret. And he says, "Thank you for your support, Doug Garret." I'm assuming that's what that says. Anyways, thank you. You're welcome, Doug. Thank you for making some comics. What kind of comics did you get? Well, I got Lone Wolf. And look, he even autographed it in the moon. I didn't ask him to, so that was nice. But some of you guys might say, well, what if you didn't want it autographed, Ash? Now you just... Well, Doug was nice enough. I also didn't ask him for this. He sent me a non-autographed version. Look at that. Wow, Doug, you're a nice guy. And then I got an extra board too. Look at that, got an extra board. I'm not going to cover up the comic book. So, real quick, just a shout out to Doug Garret. You can follow him on Twitter, which is how I found him. I think he found me first. I don't know. You know, it's interesting. I want to say real quick. My first run-in with Doug Garret was not a positive one. Not that he was a bad person or anything, but it came in because of all this stupid comic drama. And there were some followers of his that were very much in his corner. And something that happened, I don't remember the details here. I'm sure if anyone's watching it might. Dave Asanowicz, if you're watching, you may know. I said something that was kind of controversial. And it was something about Doug and this and that, and it had to do with EVS. I'm pretty sure, I don't know. Something now was just like, I don't care if this Doug this or that or whatever. I didn't know what was going on. And it just exploded. It escalated. And no one really acted badly, but no one really kind of got along either. It was just people just being like, well, fine, you feel that way, I feel this way, and everyone would move your separate ways. And I had some strong opinions, which kind of seem weird at the reflection now that I can't even remember what those opinions are, so how could they be so strong? But I will tell you one thing that I do remember quite clearly is how Doug conducted himself. Doug Garret is a man. And not once in my whole time where I'm sitting there, and I wasn't cursing up a storm and I wasn't calling anyone names, but I was being pretty harsh in my opinions and pushing pretty strongly and basically, I don't agree with this or that and so forth. And he never once wavered in his professionalism. He never once wavered in his being calm. And fast forward to today, it led me to following him on Twitter, following him on YouTube, watched one of his streams, and I found this book. And on that stream, he told me, not me specifically, he told the audience, hey, for a limited time, you can go on my Etsy channel and get this book. It's $5. Support me, da-da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, what? Wait a second. You're telling me this book here, which is, now that I have it in my hand, it feels like a thick comic. Ooh, this glossy paper. I mean, this is thick, quality paper. This, you can't see it on camera, but that is a quality production as far like the printing materials, everything. It feels heavy in your hand. The paper is a nice thick stock. $5, not 25, not 35, or not 37 like some of these books. This is $5. And I said, you know what? I like this guy. This is a cool guy, and he's trying to put out a good book, and he's trying to sell it for a reasonable price. And this is the kind of thing I want to support. I have nothing against people that want to sell $35 comics. Okay? I'm not going to be your customer. But I look at $35 comics the way I look at exotic sports cars. If you want to buy a Ferrari, more power to you. You're not a bad person because you want a Ferrari. I'm not a bad person for saying I don't want to spend $250,000 on a sports car, right? Like, I don't want to spend $35 on comics. I don't want to spend $5 on comics, but man, I just got 2 comics. Actually, I spent $250 for these. So
I didn't know I was going to get that. Doug is a man. He's got a channel. He streams. He's a genuine, kind-hearted soul. You can tell this. You can tell the genuineness of people right from the outset. And this is a guy that I came in, and I first met almost like in a bar fight. We didn't get along like right from the get-go. But this shows your character. When you behave like a man, when you behave like a good-hearted person, when you have integrity and honesty, it shows through and you can make connections. And I just want to give a shout out to Doug. And I haven't read this book. I have no idea how good it is or bad or anything about it. I don't need to at this point, though, to promote. You can go find him on Etsy. And if you can't find him, contact me and I'll point out how, because I'm probably going to forget to put the link in the channel because I'm going to do the video a week from now. But I just want to say this, take this time. I've just now spent 7 minutes talking about Doug Garret on my Ash Wednesday video, which, yeah. Thanks for watching. Let's get on with the rest of the books.
And finally, we come to the meat and potatoes of the show, the comic book haul. And we got Stan and Forky ready to judge my pulls. First, as always, remember, kids, get your receipt. $34.68 today. Jeez, I gotta get this down. I keep hitting the table. That's not a good thing to do. But always show your receipts because you'll be accused of not actually buying comics, which I do. Starting off this week, we got Independence. I have Ascender #1. And Quartering is commenting on YouTube. Ascender #1. This is a book. This is starting a new arc. I'm not really going to say anything about this book at the moment. I'm going to do a video on issues 1 through 5 and let you know so you can stay tuned for that. Next, starting with DC, we have The Flash, #81. Still going on with that Year of the Villain. Woo! Josh Williamson, Kerry Collins. This is one of the good ongoing books. 81 solid issues of Flash. People complain there aren't good comics to buy. I give you The Flash. This is... Tell me I'm wrong. People that go, no, the comic books are just ruined now and the culture wars destroyed comics. Show me how Flash is destroyed. People just want to hate. And, I get Flash is not the most interesting character. I get, like, to some people at least. But there's evidence. Now, here's a comic that I'm getting that is vastly underrated. Martian Manhunter. I'm having a blast with this book. I get that the art is a deal breaker for a lot of people. But I encourage you, if you're not going to get this book, maybe check it out when the trade comes out. I'll give you a final, obviously, I'm going to give you a final tally if the 12th issue, if it doesn't fall apart at the end. But so far, it's been really solid. This is a really great origin for Martian Manhunter. As far as I'm able to discern, it doesn't deviate much, if at all, from his origin that we've known, but it adds a lot. I've talked to channel friend of the channel, Eric Breen, who's I go to for a lot of my comic book history and knowledge, and he was telling me his thoughts about Martian Manhunter and what he was thinking, like, I'm not interested in this book, and I was like, why? And he's like, well, Martian Manhunter comes from here, da-da-da-da, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty much what the book does, but the book also adds this, this, and this, and he's like, oh, okay. So he got a little bit more interested, and it sounded like to him, at least from my descriptions, like it wasn't just going off a cliff. Speaking of books that aren't going off a cliff, holy crap, Freedom Fighters. This is a book that Eric Breen should be buying if he's not. This continues to impress. Robert Venditti is one of the best writers in comics. He just knows how to write heroic stories. This is a feel-good story of heroes fighting against oppressors. Real Nazis, not the made-up Portland nonsense. This is real Nazis. It's fantastic. It's just, this is what
comics used to be like. But it's done with modern writing style, so it doesn't feel like an old school book in that sense. Next on the list, underrated book, Justice League Dark. You're going to notice, look who the writer is, James Tynion IV. This is the guy that's being put on Batman. And this book here is probably one of the reasons why. Justice League Dark is solid. It's won me over, and I don't even like these characters. Moving on, still on to DC, we have Batman Detective Comics 1014. Again, I keep hearing talk, oh, mainstream comics is dead. There's no good comics. DC's falling apart. They don't make anything good. How many books did I just put out here? These are all good books. These aren't just meh. They're good. And Detective Comics, I've done videos on the last 2 issues. Go check them out. They're solid. See what I mean? It's good Batman. Speaking of Batman, we have Batman Superman #3. Look at the writer. Joshua Williamson, same guy that's doing 81 solid issues of Flash. He's been put to head this book, and its first 2 issues have been really good so far. The writing is great. The art is top-notch. I've got nothing to complain about. I actually like the Dark Multiverse stories. I really liked Metal. I do think that the whole Batman Who Laughs thing is in danger of being overdone. Some people are revolting because it looks like we're going to get a Superman Who Laughs type thing here. And some people are like, stupid. And I'm just like, okay, I get you don't have to like everything. Not everything's going to appeal to you. But then understand that. Just understand that that's just the way that it is. Like, comics have always been that way. Like, X-Men is my favorite comic book. You know, one thing I hate is the Mojo-verse. I cannot stand the Mojo-verse. And I would read X-Men, and they'd be like, back to the Mojo-verse. And I'd be like, oh, God, please. But I never had, like, a fit about it. I was never like, screw X-Men, I'm out. This Mojo-verse crap, I'm not buying it. You know, I was like, you just take it. You just realize, like, hey, not everything's my favorite. But speaking of things that are my favorite, Batman, Curse of the White Knight. Even the dog got excited. This is outstanding. White Knight is the book that's responsible for getting me back into comics, and Curse of the White Knight is just as good, and possibly could end up being better. We'll see. If you have not read Batman White Knight, do so. It is a self-contained story. Even if you're like, I'm not much of a Batman fan, and I say, well, have you seen the movies? And you say, which movies? And I say, it doesn't matter. Either go back to the 1989 Batman movie or the Christopher Nolan film, just any Batman movies. Just you have enough knowledge of, like, even just a movie Batman, who he is. You say, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. I go, okay, read this book, because that's all you need to know. Sean Gordon Murphy, who's the writer-artist, is fantastic. He's a phenomenal artist. His Batman lore comes from that. He's a bit of a normie when it comes to comics. He's one of these rare creators that doesn't come from really, dog, right now? He's one of these comics. I say it's norm, but actually there's a lot of crappy creators who have never been in comics, but that's usually a Marvel thing. Most historically, comic creators are people who have been fans of comics for a long time. So their love of comics got them to either start drawing or writing and trying to get into the business for most of their adult life, and they finally do. Sean just kind of found his way into the business because he's uber talented. He's friends with Scott Snyder, who obviously did a huge long Batman run at the time. And Scott sort of gave him the crash course on Batman, as near as I can tell. And then he just said, I kind of understand this character. Let me give you my take. And it's fantastic. That resume sounds like, I don't want to read a Batman book by someone like that, but you do, because his take is so fresh, but yet it's so true to the character as well. I cannot recommend this book enough. I recommend it so much. I do something I almost never do. I buy multiple covers of this. I love this book that much. And I like what they're doing on these covers. Each cover features a character. This one features Alfred, and there's one for Batman, one for really cool. Can't recommend this book enough. These are my pulls for the week. Let's see, I'll count Batman just one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 DC titles just this week alone. All good books. People tell me, DC's got nothing worth buying. Really? It's 7 books in 1 week. 7 books in 1 week, as I was saying. Sorry about that. My phone went off. That was the noise. I had to cut. I go 1 minute over my do not disturb time set that I put on my phone. And my phone, I don't get that many phone calls. I never get phone calls hardly. And sure enough, but go on, go. Oh, I just want to be on camera. I was going to sit here. Anyway, 7 books in 1 week, as I was saying. 8. One book so good I bought it twice. So no Marvels you're going to notice either. People are like, oh, Marvel's doing better than the DC, Ash. Beg to differ. Marvel's got some good stuff, and kudos to them for bringing me back to buying Marvel again, because I was noped out big time. Big time noped out. And they started doing some good stuff. So I hope that they do better and keep going down that road. But DC is still the king of comics. Now, that could likely end next year with this 5G bullshit that they're doing. Could make me even nope out of DC altogether. I have yet to see exactly what it's going to be. If it's just like 4 or 5 new books with these new characters and the rest of the DC is not changed, then so be it. I don't want to jump the gun yet, if you know what I mean. And Marvel, Marvel has shown that it knows how to ram into an iceberg at any minute. So I'm not about to just be like, yeah, Marvel's back. No, I'm going to give Marvel credit where credit's due. I'm going to push the books that they're doing good with and praise them for doing good. And I'm going to be harsh and criticize where they're doing bad. Just like with both Marvel and DC. But right now, here's some good books that you can get. All of them are good. I was like, which one's the best? Which one's the worst? I put Stan in front of Batman as my best pick, but Forky, I guess I'm just going to put in front of Flash because, not that I expect it to be bad, I'm just not a big Flash fan. All these books are good. This is a good week for comics. So thank you so much for watching. Please put your comments down below. If you like what you see, hit a like button. If you don't like what you see, tell me why, what I could do better, what would make the videos better. Doggy, we'll see you next time. I will see you next time. I had fun. Hope you had a fun new comic book day. Tell me what you bought. I'd like to see your guys' pull list. Thanks for watching.